Interestingly, just about a week after we met, a friend of mine from college was visiting and said, "So, seeing anybody new? What's going on in your life?" And I said to him, "I think I've met my future husband." And those words conveyed at that time that I'd met somebody really special. Um, you know, as soon as I met John, I had a feeling like he was family, or like we'd known each other a long time. We immediately felt we had a lot in common. It was so easy to talk about all sorts of things. And um, I knew this was the beginning of something really amazing. But those words, "I think I've met my future husband," um, obviously means something very special to me now, looking back on that, because we're looking at a ruling in the case that may make it possible for us to legally wed, which would be fantastic. Oh, yes. Well, we were together. We were on the steps of the California Supreme Court awaiting the decision. It was um, kind of heartbreaking to think, our marriage is actually in someone else's hands. Um, and waiting for that decision, we were also very hopeful, thinking that love would prevail. But we were together, and that was really what mattered. And we reflected on the wedding vows to be together for better or for worse. And unfortunately, when the decision came out, well, it was for worse, because the decision said, in effect, that the day we got married and exchanged those beautiful vows was legally null and void. And that was really heartbreaking news. We only gained some strength, though, from thinking of the example of my parents, who were an interracial couple. My mom is Chinese American, my dad's English and Irish American, and they actually got married legally in California thanks to the Perez decision, which overturned California's law against interracial couples marrying. But they moved around the country, and they actually moved to Missouri, where the law was still on the books, and they were actually informed that their marriage was legally null and void in Missouri. So that was something that I never wanted us to have in common with my parents, but there we were on the steps of the Supreme Court hearing that our marriage was null and void. I took strength, though, from knowing that my parents were on the right side of history, and that ultimately all remaining laws against their marriage were overturned. And knowing that now another generation in our family is turning to that same California Supreme Court for the right to marry the person that we love, I feel a lot of hope.
Well, it is a real roller coaster. I think that experience of dignity, respect, and equality that we experienced back in February of 2004, it has really served as, again, this inspiration of what we want to get back. We want to get that experience of being treated fairly and equally, and the simple joy, the simple joy of that day back. And so it feels very different when you're unmarried. It certainly feels different inside, and we know that there's an important legal barrier because to have full equal marriage rights, ultimately under federal law, there are over 1,000 very practical rights and responsibilities and obligations that come with marriage alone. So it affects us both externally and internally. There's something that's difficult to be in this sense of struggle. And now we've been through it for 4 years, and there have been ups and downs. But I think there are two sort of secrets, and the best secret, the most important one about working for the freedom to marry, and is that it's inherently romantic.
We were able to build a team fairly quickly, melding the expertise of this office with our outside counsel, as well as then coordinating with the counsel for the other plaintiffs and the resources that they had brought to bear really easily. And I have to say it in terms of the seamlessness with which we ultimately all came together and cooperated, I think has been really, really impressive. And you're seeing how much that paid off in the case they were ultimately able to present at every level, culminating in the Supreme Court. Now, in terms of dollars, it's something we've been able to absorb within our existing budget. I can't sit here and tell you today what we've spent, but it was appreciable, but it was something that I was able to absorb because you have to be able to prioritize. And this was a priority for this office and for the city. So it was something that I don't want to say it was daunting, because certainly there are not a lot of resources that we needed, but so many people believed in this issue that to pull those resources together was not that difficult. Of course, it's easy for me to say since Terry was managing it day to day. But really the challenge was melding all those resources that everybody wanted to offer and have it work in a seamless way so that it worked to the benefit of the case.
And I felt that if we actually got married, it would put us in the middle of this dispute in a way that would make it, I struggled as it was with not, with putting my feelings aside at times and trying to make rational decisions that weren't too caught up in emotions. And I think, it would have been really, really hard had we gotten married. That said, if the court rules in our favor, I think we definitely will get married. Carol's the love of my life, so, we've been together for 16 years and we'll be together for the rest of our lives, so it would be really nice to cement that finally in a public kind of accepted way, the way that everybody else knows. I remember this moment right before the first Supreme Court argument where I was defending the mayor and the city in the question of whether they had the power to take the issue into their hands. And it was the 50th anniversary, I think, of Brown versus Board of Education. And in the bottom of the California Supreme Court courthouse was this amazing exhibit of photographs and mementos and quotations of people who'd been involved, not just the ones that you know about, but lots of just regular people who had been involved in one way or another in that revolution. And I remember thinking, this is a human issue, and it's really about whether people accept other people who are in some way different, and how that difference gets magnified and made into something that it's not. And it just struck me, here I was going to go argue in front of these 7 justices. And granted, we had talked the California Supreme Court out of addressing the constitutional merits at that point, but I still felt they were so kind of indignant, or that was the feeling I got from some of their orders, so angry that the mayor would have done this thing. And I thought, why can't they see that the parallel? Here they are sitting in this courthouse upstairs from this amazing exhibit about a really important civil rights battle in which people did step out and do things that challenged the status quo. And I think ultimately what we'll tell if they do see that parallel is the decision that comes out. But in that moment, I remember just thinking, they don't get it. They can't see it. It's the same issue. It's the same kind of issue. It's the same kind of movement.